In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at doing some extrusions using Inventor. So the part that you see here is one that I created in AutoCAD already, but I'm going to do it in Inventor, and you're going to see that it is a difference and it should be a lot more simpler. Mainly because you're just building on each one of those faces and subtracting. And I'm using the term subtract, which is coming from the AutoCAD, but in Inventor is nothing more than an extrusion. So here in the drawing, you can see that I should have all the dimensions that I'm going to need, and I'm going to start off creating an L shape, and the dimensions that I'm going to need is going to be the 72, the 145, so I have the length and the width, and then here's the height, which is at 90. And I'm also going to need this 36 and that 25. Some of the other things that you're going to look at is the orientation of it. So remember that in isometric, this is the front view. This is going to be my right side view, and then you can see my top view kind of showing the very top of that. So I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm creating this in Inventor. So once you have Inventor open up, I'm going to create this, and this is going to be a metric part. So I'm going to select this new icon, and it should bring open the template. Make sure that you select metric. And I'll be using the standard millimeter IPT. And remember, you can just double click on this millimeter IPT. And you give it a little bit of time, and Inventor should load up. So once it's loaded, first thing I'm going to do is decide which plane I'm going to create that sketch on. So I'll go to the sketch. And remember that if I'm looking at the view cube, here's the front side, the right side, and the top. Well, I want to create it on the right side, and that's what I'm going to create that L shape for. So I'm going to click on this right one if you don't want to click on this view. So if we select right, that's going to automatically tell me the plane that I should be on. Then I'm just going to click on it. Next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead and create that L shape. Now remember the dimensions I told you, that going this direction should be a height of 90. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in. Make sure that your line is going vertical. And then I'll type in 90. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's go back this way. 145. And then the rest of these I can just kind of fudge in. So you can either type in the 25 here, but I'm just going to kind of go ahead and create the rest of it just by making sure I keep things in line with each other. Now I'll come back and put those dimensions on that are missing. So I'll click here, and this is 36. This back one will be 25. And now it's saying that I need 2 more dimensions. Remember that those 2 dimensions I need are going to be in reference to the center point. I'll slide this to the outside a little bit. So what I'm going to use is this 90, and I'm going to use the 145. I'll go to dimension, select this line, and the center point. Once I place my dimension, select the 90 and select the division by 2. Do the exact same thing again. I'll select this line, the yellow dot, place it, select the 145 dimension, divided by 2. And now it should be fully constrained. It should all be a different color, and it says that it's fully constrained. I'll go to Finish Sketch, or you can do a right click and choose Finish Sketch. I'll go ahead and select this icon here just to kind of get it in the orientation that I want it. Let's go ahead and look at the extrude command. Once it loads up, it's deciding which way do you want that to go. And remember that I told it that the width need to be 72. So I'm going to go with 72 here. And then we're going to make sure that we put that in the center. Now I'm going to purposely make a mistake here, and I'm not going to put it in the center just so I can show you how to go back and edit that, in case that you typed in the 72 and you hit enter or some of that nature. So if I went ahead and did it here, remember that that is going to be controlled here. So if I double click on the little icon where it says extrude right next to the extrusion 1, that'll take me back to the command, and then that is going to allow me to shift it to where I want it or make any other changes in here that I want. Let's go to OK. Let's go ahead and create this front part on this face. So I'll select this face, and I can go to the last icon, which is Create Sketch. Let's start by putting that circle in it, that has a radius of 30. So I'll create a circle. Now it is in the center, so I'm just going to kind of make sure that I'm in line with this yellow dot. But do not click on this yellow dot because I don't know if it's necessarily in that center yet. So I'll click here. And you can see mine is already telling me that I want a radius dimension. If you want to change that to a diameter or you want to change back to a radius, remember that's underneath the right click option. And since I'm in a radius, this is where it's going to go to diameter. So once I select diameter, now it's giving me a diameter. Right click again, I'll go to radius, and then I'll type in the radius, which is 30. Okay. It does give me the center location, or how far it is from this bottom edge. So let's go ahead and create a dimension from this line to that center. And that height is sitting at 48. And we also know that this circle is right in line with this center. So I can use the vertical constraint, and let's make sure that that's the right one. And you can see when I click on the center, I'm getting a vertical dotted line that's going through. So that tells me that that's what it's going to line it to. So I'll select that center dot in the center of my circle. Now that'll place those two. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and create a rectangle. And I'm just going to click it out here, somewhere along here. Let's go ahead and add some dimensions. From here to here, that dimension should be 30. Dimension from this top going down to here is at 24. And you can see that I'm doing nothing more than using the dimensions that are given to me. I'm going to make a couple of lines collinear. So I'm going to select collinear, select this line, and then that one. Do the exact same thing on the other side here. Let's go ahead and trim out this portion. I'll go to trim, trim here, and here. Let's also trim, I'm sorry, I hit the escape button premature. I'm going to trim between here and here. Now you can see when I did a couple of trims, oops, and it looks like I got the wrong circle there. I'll go back and undo that. And then I'll go to trim this portion. Okay, you can see when I used the trim command, it actually deleted a couple of my lines that I needed, or dimensions I should say. So let's go ahead and put those back. So that dimension from here to here was at 30. The dimension here along the top from here to here was at 24. And you can see that now I'm missing 4 dimensions. Most likely it's trying to figure out if these two lines are collinear. So I'll select the collinear icon and select this line and this one. And I'll do the same here and here. Let's go ahead and put our radius dimension back on. So let's go a dimension from here. And then what we need to do is tell it that this one is exactly the same. So I'm going to tell it that this is concentric, means that they both have the same center. I can use the equal. And I'll select this one and then select that arc. Now if you look here at the bottom, it's fully constrained. But you can see that I have these yellow lines and I have a profile enclosed in here. And I have another profile enclosed along here. So what I'm going to do with that is that I'm just going to highlight. And remember, I'm starting from this right side. I left click and hold. And I'm going across. And I'm going to select those lines. I'm going to hold down the control button and select the very bottom line. Then I'm going to make it a construction line. So by me doing that, that's just going to alleviate that. And when I go to the extrusion command, it's going to automatically come up with that. Let's go ahead and finish sketch. Let's go to extrude. And you can see that it's going to automatically pick the one that I need. There is no fumbling between any other profile sketches. The distance that I need is going to be 12. And then we're going to send that into the part. And it should have automatically selected a subtract or a cut option here. But if it didn't, you could select here, and then that will subtract it from the part. Let's go ahead and go to OK. From here, I can go ahead and put the circle that's located on the inside of here. So let's go to the hole command. And now we're going to use a concentric since we know where the center of that circle is. So the first thing it's going to ask me is pick this face, and then it's going to ask me to pick what is concentric to. So I'm just going to select this surface, and then I'm going to give it its diameter, which is 24. I can type it here or inside of my dialog box. I'm going to send it through all, and you can see that it does not have a distance, and that's this second option here. Go ahead and select OK. Next, let's go ahead and create that slot that's running along the back. So I'm going to select this face, last option. And since it's kind of rotated this direction, I'm just going to rotate it just to the side so I can work with it a little bit better. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is create this slot that's along the back. And what I'm going to use to create that is going to be underneath this rectangle command. And I'm going to use a slot that's located center to center. I'll go ahead and collect my first center, which is going to be at this midpoint. Coming out this direction, that distance is going to be 50. And now it's going to ask me for how big is the radius of this circle. And that's going to be 12. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this yellow line, and then I'm going to put it on the construction layer. My reason for doing that is just so that I don't have to select between this profile that's located here and this one. So let's go ahead and finish sketch. Go back to the extrude command again. I'm going to give it a height, and remember that if I'm going through all, that height is irrelevant. Just like in AutoCAD, I can type in the number 25, or I can make it greater than that, which is 35 in this case. I'm going to flip it, which is going to send it through the part, and it's going to be a subtraction or a cut. Go ahead and select OK, and that part should be removed. Now let's go ahead and take care of the part that's located here along the bottom. So I'm going to click this right side, and then I'm going to flip it just up, located here. I'll go ahead and select this bottom face, and then I'll select this last icon. I'm going to go back and create a rectangle, so just a regular 2-point rectangle. I'm going to select this corner here, and then I'll place it somewhere along here. Okay, the 2 dimensions that I'm going to need, it's going to be a dimension here, and that's 72. Oh, I'm sorry, the distance of my cutout is going to be 50. So I'm just going to double click on that number and edit it. And then my length here will be 72. So I'll go ahead and place that dimension and make it 72. Let's go ahead and finish this sketch. Let's go ahead and flip it back around. So I'm selecting that arrow and then that icon. Extrude. And just like the other one, I do have to send this one in a certain distance. So I'm going to go ahead and select and put my dimension of 6. And I want that to flip into the part. So make sure it flips into it. And I'm just verifying that I have a cut. That's going to be the operation. Go ahead and go to OK. And now you can see that that part is totally complete. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this one. I will make sure I come back in a later video and go through some dimensioning techniques on how you would dimension this, or maybe even cut a section or some of that other stuff. So I want to thank you for watching, and look out for the next video.